Dhyana is most important. Amongst all spiritual disciplines, one should know that dhyana, meaning meditation or deep absorption in God thought, is most important. Along with other disciplines like devotion and service, you should give more emphasis to meditation. If you do other kinds of sadhana like service and bhajan with all sincerity and earnestness, then only you will be able to sit for good and fruitful meditation. Once a person becomes fit for meditation with deep absorption, once he gets up from his meditation seat, he should engage himself in service and hospitality and such other works which will please others. Devotion, worship, etc. must be used for self-realization and not for solving family and worldly problems. People in general, when they become devotees, lack the requisite desire and enthusiasm to progress on the spiritual path. Their devotion, worship of the deities, service to Guru, Nama Japa, etc. are all meant only for a comfortable living in the world and never for fulfilling the main purpose of this precious human birth, which is God realization and the consequent everlasting peace and bliss. Such lofty and noble yearnings and desires never occur to them. Even when they are in satsang along with their fellow devotees, they develop dislike, hatred, and envy and begin showing these in their behavior with others. Having come to the ashrama and the Guru, they should focus all their attention in finding out a suitable path for God realization. Instead, they simply come, do bhajan, take their meals and go. Even if they talk with the Guru, they only talk of their difficulties at home, their problems with their wives, husbands, daughters, sons, etc. and go back. They should free themselves from these useless attachments and progress in the spiritual path and attain fulfillment of human life. Such things never arise in their minds. If someone strongly desires to end this human misery and sorrow somehow or the other, and begins searching for a way out with great intensity and yearning, then and then only wisdom and power of discretion will dawn in him, and lofty, noble, and worthwhile thoughts will begin arising in his mind. Family, house, property, wife, children, etc. all these will continue to exist as they should. Whatever has to happen will definitely go on happening. It is all God's will. God will never do injustice to anyone. Whatever problems and difficulties we encounter are only temporary. There will be valid and proper reasons for them to occur in our lives. It is only because of these reasons that all trials and tribulations come to us. When we surrender ourselves totally to God, if difficulties and problems crop up, they come only to test us. There will be proper reasons and a definite purpose for them to occur. They always come only for our good. But one should realize this noble purpose of God behind such happenings. But they don't. They only wail that for no fault of theirs, God is unnecessarily punishing them. The thought that this must have come to them only for their own good never crosses their mind. They should know that God does everything always with a purpose, and His purpose will always be good and benevolent. We can never know His ways. He will make someone who was sitting quietly by himself to talk something unpleasant. He will make someone going on the road to say something bad to you. He will make someone else do something else to you. But if one is wise and realizes that He is behind everything and He always does such things with a purpose, he will not feel bad and get upset and suffer. On the other hand, he will enjoy such things and say with a smile, "All right, my lord, I will gladly suffer this. After all, you must be having some purpose for doing this to me." One should dedicate one's whole life to Him. Whatever one does, he should always be aware that He is observing it. With this constant awareness of him, one must do all things always and go on living his life. Giver and taker are not different. If in a satsang you find one arrogant fool or a dunce participating, it is better if you leave that place. Similarly, if you find one wicked and evil person in a gathering, it is better if you keep yourself away from that place. This is because if a stingy miser who can never give anything to anyone sees a liberal giver, a charitable man, he will not at all be able to tolerate this generous benefactor. If by chance he comes across the beneficiaries of munificences, he will be tormented with envy. After all, he is not giving anything of his own. Someone is giving to someone else. But this bugger cannot tolerate it. He burns with uncontrollable envy. To him, giver and taker are two different persons. One gives, another takes. Giver is different, taker is different. He can never visualize that the giver and taker are not different, and that all this giving and taking happens according to God's will. How can this fool know that not even a blade of grass can move without his will? One who knows this truth remains absolutely unaffected by seeing all such things. But no one will ever be able to make such an ignoramus either to keep quiet or transform and change him into a normal person by any means whatsoever. How can the attributeless reality be compassionate? Devotee. Appa, God, they say, is unmanifest, formless, absolutely still and inactive, and with no attributes whatsoever. On the contrary, they also say he is full of grace, kindness, and mercy, and an ocean of compassion. How can this be possible? How to reconcile with these opposites? How are we to understand this? Appa. God is formless, eternal, and all-powerful. He pervades sun, moon, light, stars, air, water, everything. In fact, he is all-pervading. Even then, if one intensely desires and yearns for him and him only, he assumes the form of a guru and appears before him. Is this not a clear and sufficient proof that he is an ocean of compassion and mercy? Though he has assumed a human form for the sake of his devotees, he still remains full with all his other attributes. In fact, Guru is God in human form. That's all. He appears on earth as Guru to make his ardent devotees like himself. But these devotees still retain their old desires and go on saying, I should get that desire fulfilled. I should get this desire fulfilled before I can devote my time exclusively for spirituality. The compassionate Guru yields and gets their desires fulfilled and finally attracts them to himself. He goes on guiding them on the spiritual path step by step, never forsaking them. Is he not then an ocean of compassion, grace, and mercy? Even when that formless and attributeless God assumes a human form and lives amidst them, this is how the devotees behave. If he had remained formless, unmanifest, and aloof only, one cannot even imagine how they would have behaved. In fact, it is he who is doing everything. He tests them to see whether they still want to remain submerged in their worldliness or want to wake up and come towards spirituality. They do not even want to look towards spirituality. What to do? Effort is absolutely necessary if one wants to succeed in spirituality. Inherited virtuous tendencies from past lives, real devotion, self-effort and sadhana, all are absolutely necessary if one wants to progress in the spiritual path unfalteringly. If he has all these accomplishments, then he can be absolutely fearless. With firm determination and sincere effort, everything is possible. Therefore, proper spiritual disciplines, determination, and self-effort are exceedingly important. To indulge in worldliness, to see TV and films, to pick up quarrels and fight, people don't require any inherited tendencies. Without even being asked by anyone, they make Herculean effort and indulge in them and learn such things all by themselves. But when asked to put even half of such effort for spirituality, they say, "How can we do it? It requires inherited tendencies." If coaxed and cajoled, they unwillingly make feeble and half-hearted attempts, and when they don't succeed, they give it up. That all-compassionate Lord has endowed us with enough intelligence and discretion, and is teaching us invaluable lessons by spreading the whole of His creation before our very eyes. Death, destruction, pain, and misery are all happening before our very eyes. Everything is continuously changing. Flowers and fruits we see today will be altogether different tomorrow. We see old and informed people suffering, but we don't learn the lesson that we too will become old tomorrow and become careful and wise. Like this, when everything is there before their very eyes, they will ask, "Why do you always emphasize that everything is fleeting and temporary? Where is the proof for what you say?" Just see how deeply it is ingrained in their whole being that they and what is theirs are eternal and permanent. They don't even want to accept that what they see before their eyes are all temporary, neither real nor permanent. Wisdom can dawn through renunciation only. When a man passionately desires something, or is terrifically angry over something, or has become a helpless slave to some sense pleasure, or is bewildered and stunned due to something, or obsessed with some intense emotional feeling, his head will be full of that and that only. If at the same time someone tries to knock some sense into his head, or to give him some sound advice, or to do some good work, it will be a sheer waste and of no use at all. His brain is so full that nothing else has any chance to enter there. In the same way, to people who are deeply submerged in this vast ocean of worldliness and who are in utter darkness due to their ignorance, if you try to tell something good and noble in order to correct them, there is absolutely no space there in their head for this to enter. Even if it gets the least little bit of chance to somehow enter in, this little bit of wisdom can do wonders inside there. But not even a pinpoint of space is available for it to enter. The head is full and tightly packed with wife, children, fights over property, anger, hatred, envy, and what not. His mind, intelligence, everything is full of that only. If he sits, stands, does anything, and even in his dreams, only these things are there. When this is the state of affairs, however hard you try to knock some sense and wisdom in, you will miserably fail. Even if, due to some reason, he does some religious rite or worship, he will in no time link it with something that is worrying him, and he hopes that that problem will get solved because of this worship. He can do nothing that is unconnected with his problems and worries. Whatever we want to get, only He, God, has to give. Whatever we want to save, only He has to make it possible. Whatever we want to preserve and protect, only He has to preserve and protect. We cannot have our way in whatever we do. Therefore, we should be prepared to give up our sense of possessiveness. We should be ready to part with whatever we consider as ours. Say we have 15 sets of clothes. We should be ready to part with 14 sets. Only then our inherited bad and harmful tendencies, our excessive desires, and our deep and strong attachments to things have a chance of dwindling. Like this, if you go on giving up and giving up, then only you can become all alone. Becoming all alone means giving up everything you consider as yours, genuinely feeling everything is his, freeing yourself from all attachments and sense of possessiveness as mine. If everything that is mine goes, then only I remains. This I is the pure I, and the pure I is God Himself, that eternal reality itself. Otherwise, if one can live under the firm conviction that nothing is mine and everything is his and his only, this also would be equally conducive to one's spiritual growth. The Dharmapura incident, travel samadhi. Before God's infinite and boundless bliss, the sorrows and enjoyments of this world are ephemeral and evanescent. I shall illustrate this by an incident that happened to me. Once, we went to a place to see a girl for a boy. The place was some miles away from Dharmapura. After finishing our job and before leaving for our place, we all went to a hotel to have some coffee. Father forgot his umbrella there. After traveling about 12 miles, Father remembered his umbrella. He sent me back to the hotel to fetch it. He told me they would all wait for me at Dharmapura. I went back to the hotel. They had kept our umbrella safe. I collected it. To return back to Dharmapura, there was no bus available, so I decided to walk back with the umbrella in my hand. There is a road from the Andhra Pradesh side. I took that road. I began singing bhajan. Soon, I plunged into unforgettable bliss and became that bliss itself. Body was walking, but I was not aware of anything. I was blissfully unaware whether my legs were in movement and whether I was proceeding in the right direction. I had no sense of fear also that I might stray away from the road and fall into some roadside ditch or dash against some thorny bush. That day's experience and the state I was in that day was indeed unique and cannot be described in words. The bliss I was in was so superb that I did not want to separate myself from that state anymore. I did not want to open my eyes and get back to this worldly consciousness at all. As I was walking in this condition, a car has come and has stopped right in front of me. It was a new blue-color car. I had ignored its horn, though the driver had horned it any number of times, and I was walking toward the vehicle unaware. So, he had stopped his vehicle right in front of me. Thinking I was fully drunk and in an inebriated condition, he has begun scolding me in all sorts of filthy language. Though I opened my eyes, I could see nothing. He was to go to Dharmapura, and losing his way, he had come in this road. He has asked me whether the road he was going would lead him to Dharmapura. To get rid of him, I have told him, yes, it goes to Dharmapura. You proceed. He has asked me where I was going. I have told him I was going to Dharmapura. We were going in opposite directions, and I have told him as if in both directions the road would go to Dharmapura. Then he has asked me to give him proper directions, and again asked me whether I really want to go to Dharmapura. I have confirmed to him that I want to go to Dharmapura. He has then forced me to get into the car in spite of my protests. I was happily walking as if I was the lord of the whole universe. I was really feeling bad that he had dragged me into his vehicle. I was accustomed to go anywhere only on foot, so walking any distance, however long, was not at all difficult for me. I had never sat in a car till then. He took me to Dharmapura bus stand and dropped me right in front of where my father was standing, waiting for me. Father asked me how I came in that car. I told him that they themselves volunteered to bring me in their car. Then all of us caught a bus and returned to our place. When one is in divine bliss, one will not feel worldly difficulties as difficulties at all. When one does not pay any attention to them, how can they become difficulties? Similarly with worldly pleasures and happinesses. All comforts and luxuries of this world, and even the most magnificent pleasure and happiness of this world, is nothing before that divine bliss. They all appear insignificant, fleeting, and momentary. They cannot be compared even to the light emitted by a glowworm in front of the brightness of the sun. You see, that day God himself had come there in that new blue car to bring me back to Dharmapura. I had lost my way and would have continued walking in the opposite direction. I narrated this incident to Hanumantajja, who is Appa's guru. He told me, yes, you were in the samadhi state then. One can get into that state while walking also, not necessarily only while sitting in meditation. Then it is called travel samadhi, that is sanchara samadhi. Mother, Father, God. Generally, all people believe that Mother and Father are the real living gods. Appa says this is not correct. This is only a limited or restricted meaning. He explains here the broader and the real meaning. Some people swear and tell, there is really no God. Why should we believe in a God we don't see? We are seeing our father and mother. It is they who have given birth to us. They have protected us and brought us up. Hence, they are our real God. These people have not understood the meaning of these words, Father, Mother, God, correctly. They have not understood the full or the whole meaning, and also the idea and the philosophy behind these words correctly. These words really mean that Father and Mother who have given birth to us are not our real parents. Our real parents is God only. Everyone should understand this correctly. If we believe that the parents who have given birth to us and brought us up are alone the real God, we would be badly constricting the real meaning of these words unnecessarily. We would be looking at the idea behind these words superficially, from a very narrow angle. Mother, Father, God, how wrongly they have understood the meaning of these words. They believe Father and Mother alone are God. They have restricted the power and supremacy of Almighty God to that of being just their Father and Mother. He is just their Father and Mother and nothing more. Whereas in reality, their father and mother have not given birth to them, nor have they received their birth from their parents. There is only one God, and He has given birth to us, to our parents, to our grandparents, and great-grandparents, and in fact, to everyone and the whole of this creation. Also, have our parents in fact given birth to us? Are they capable of doing that without His grace and sanction behind them? The way these three words, Father, Mother, God, which in reality are proclaiming a great and profound truth, are to be understood is like this. The one who gave birth to us, nurtured us with breast milk, and brought us up is that God, and God alone. This fact has to be thoroughly understood by all of us. These words really mean, O God, you are really our Father and Mother, that unseen eternal truth, that supreme and absolute reality is the God. That is our Father and Mother. There are some people who are really heartless and cruel by nature. They hate and envy others and have no love, respect, sympathy and affection to anyone. Only such people may say that only their father and mother is their God, that's all. But people who are loving by nature and have love, respect, affection to all, including all other creatures and plants, to such people, that supreme reality alone is father, mother, friend, relative, everything. He alone is their protector and redeemer of all their trials and tribulations in life. Such people alone are his children. By saying all this, I am not saying that our parents who have given birth to us are not God. I am only saying that to us, everything and everyone, including our father and mother, is He, and He alone. Only such people who have enriched themselves with such noble and profound thoughts, and whose minds remain always full with only such thoughts, become fit to know Him and to become heirs to eternal bliss and joy. Philosophy of a pseudo-ascetic. There are some pseudo-ascetics who are slaves to their desires and enjoy all the comforts and advantages of family life. They do not want to get what they want by hard work and honest means. Only to hoodwink the outside world, they put on the garb of an ascetic and master the technique of talking big and grandiloquently. They always criticize family life and family people sharply and incisively. One such person once confided his trusted and intimate confidant that being a pseudo-sannyasi is far more sensible than being a hard-working family man if one really wants to enjoy all the comforts and luxuries of life. When this was brought to the notice of Appa by a devotee, the sound advice given by Appa to the devotee is given here. Has he really said it is much better to be a pseudo-sannyasi than being a family man? See, what a grand statement he has made. Can any decent man with self-respect say such a thing? Will any sensible person appreciate this? He must be himself a bogus sannyasi to say this. Why I am saying he is a bogus sannyasi is because such people believe in a strange and perverse philosophy. He does not want to do worship, bhajan, dhyana, japa, or any such wholesome spiritual discipline himself. It is evident he is not interested in God realization and eternal bliss, etc. He is only interested in leading a comfortable and luxurious worldly life. For this, he wants to put on a garb of an ascetic. He feels it is better to become a bogus sannyasi and cheat people rather than be an honest and decent householder. To have a family with wife and children is too much of a responsibility and a big botheration. He wants to pose before the world as if he is a genuine ascetic and still enjoy in secrecy all the comforts of a family life. That is why devotees should use their power of discretion and should keep themselves away from such people. The desire to enjoy worldly pleasures, pomp, and luxury behind the guise of a sannyasi is such a heinous crime. One should never even think of such an awful thing. One should boldly marry and become a householder if he wants to enjoy the comforts of family life. If a family man has spiritual leanings and wants to take to the spiritual path, he can easily do it. Remaining at home, he can do sadhana like worship, bhajan, japa, meditation, etc. Side by side, he should also lead a pious, virtuous, and hospitable life if he wants to progress fast in his spiritual path. A genuine ascetic is altogether different. The things he does, his conduct and behavior with others, and the way he lives is not only of immense benefit to himself, but is also a source of great inspiration to everyone else.